All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. See lots of people coming into the session. Like to start out first just with an acknowledgement on behalf of Renton School District. Would like to express gratitude to everyone here, first and foremost, for the incredible work that you all are doing to serve the community, and second, for taking time out of your busy schedules to share this hour with us. My name is Adam Davis. I'll be facilitating today's learning network in collaboration with our fabulous team of speakers here from Renton School District. As I think many of you know, Vicki Blakeney, who's the Director of Student Support at Renton School District, and Davina Agwan, who is the Social and Emotional Learning Facilitator at Renton School District. I'm also here today joined by a few colleagues from Health Commons Project that I'd like to introduce. My colleague Samantha Laura, who leads our engagement with Renton School District. And then we have Brian Blackerby, Celia McTeague, and Chelsea Schiller from our technology team, as well as our executive director, Rob Arnold. For today's session, Brian's going to be serving as our technical host to make sure the event runs smoothly. In the background, Chelsea is going to be managing and moderating the chat and responding to questions and comments that you put in the chat. Before we jump into today's session and the agenda, let me give you just a little bit of background on the partnership with Health Commons Project and Renton School District, for those who are unfamiliar with our organization and partnership. Health Commons is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Washington State, and our mission is really focused around expanding access to care. In 2020, we partnered with Renton School District to co-design and pilot test COVID-19 testing services in schools and developed a model that was ultimately rolled out statewide. For this particular project, we've been asked by Vicki and team to support these learning network events and then provide some technical assistance to set up new services. So it's an honor and a privilege to be here today. Next slide. So for today's agenda, once we get through kind of the welcome part of the presentation here, we're going to hand it over to Vicki and Davina to talk about what's happening at Renton School District in 2022-23, the initiatives that are underway, new team members that are coming on board, and a little bit more about this new learning network format. And then we will talk about, Vicki will talk about where Renton School District is headed next, kind of paint that mission, vision, North Star for where her team would like to go in partnership with you all. And then we'll go into a session, more of really a group exercise to get to know each other a little bit better. We want to hear from each of the partners in the room, many of whom may be new to this space, who you are, a little bit about your role and what you want to accomplish in partnership with Renton School District. And then we'll move to close. Next slide, please. So a couple of ground rules for this event. Closed captions are available. If you're interested, you just click the CC button to access those closed captions. Everybody except the facilitator and presenter will be muted for the presenting part of the section. And then when we get to the group exercise, we'll have the ability to bring people off mute. This event will be recorded, and then we'll share it out with registrants after. And yeah, any questions or fun comments like from Liz, feel free to drop into the chat. This is a nice way to connect with each other as we move through today's session. And without further ado, next slide, Brian, I'd like to introduce Vicki and Davina and hand it over to you, Vicki.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Adam. And as Adam has said, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. We are thrilled to have you. I know I've gotten a chance to talk to many of you. If I haven't gotten to talk to a chance to talk with you yet, and you'd love to just meet and get to know us personally, I'd be happy to have that happen as well. So thank you for being here. And my part of this is to just let you know what's happening this year, and maybe even a little bit of why it's ramped up and why it's a little different for us this year, and build on how we got to this place. So I'm going to start, before we even go to the next slide, I'm going to just start by telling you that we know that you've been partners with us, many of you, for a very long time. In fact, I see some of our partners that have been with the district for over 20 years now. And I want to just kind of build on the partnerships that we've already had, because as you know, we are oftentimes, especially coming out of the pandemic, really struggling to meet the needs of our students. But it's also because there's a time now that's really ripe for doing this work, because there's a really large appetite for this. And so let me show you what I mean by that and what the Renton School District's commitment is to that. So if you could go to the next slide, I'll start with that. We are building my team. So when we started this work in 2017, I was hired to be the Director of Student Support. Since that time, the team has grown. So the first two additions to the team were considered social and emotional learning facilitators, and you'll hear from one of those two facilitators today. And we were able to hire two facilitators before the pandemic. And their role was really to look at what are we doing across the system to support the capacity of teachers and schools to meet the needs of our students in a social and emotional realm. One of our facilitators, Davina, comes to us, and you'll meet her again in a minute, from kind of a lovely background of licensed clinical social worker, as well as a middle school counselor school setting. And so we were able to really build on her strengths to start looking even more intentionally at the mental health wellness of our students. And thank goodness we started that work before the pandemic, because as we can all attest to, we have gone through something that has really made an impact on students since then. So after those two were hired in the last year, in our most recent collective bargaining agreement, we've been able to add even more folks to the team. And so we added, at the school setting, we added one more school counselor to Hazen High School, because it's such a big high school. So we have 5 counselors there now instead of 4. I happen to coordinate the counselors as well, so if you have questions about them. The other thing that we are doing with counselors, just to fill you in there, is we are working towards moving, as many of you who represent districts and everybody across the state is doing, we're moving towards working towards a consolidated, comprehensive school counseling program. So our counselors are even more focused on the social, emotional, mental health needs of students than they were in the past, although they were still pretty focused. But then also adding to my team, we were able to hire 2 more social emotional learning facilitators starting this year, and then 2 specific that we want to introduce you to today. One of them, unfortunately, is sick, Marlisha and Jacob. We hired 2 social workers. So this is the first time in the Renton School District that I know of that we've had, well, I guess it's once a long time ago, but the first time in a long time that we've had social workers specifically assigned at the district level to support schools. And they've already had over 50 referrals from our schools. And they've only been with us for, I think, the last month or so. So we hit the ground running with these social work positions. I believe Jacob is on today. Are you here, Jacob? Jacob, if you want to unmute yourself and say hi, it'll make it so that everybody can see you.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Jacob. It's just me. Yeah, Marlisha is fortunately sick. That's going around. Yeah, look forward to, continuing to see supports grow for our community. Thanks.
So many of you might get a chance to interact with Marlisha or Jacob, because a lot of times schools are reaching out and saying, we think these students need more help, but the moms or dads or guardians might need more of a warm handoff to get them to that support. And so sometimes Jacob and Marlisha are serving as that sort of warm handoff to get you introduced. I do want to share one more innovation that's not about the size of my team, because it was another investment that we've made into supporting the mental health of our students. And that is, we have a contract for this year and next year with Talkspace. You might be familiar with Talkspace. They're a virtual therapy for students. It's usually for businesses and adults, but we have a contract with them to provide mental health services to our students 13 and above. So we pay a subscription rate, and then our students have free access to Talkspace, and they are able to text or send messages unlimited to a dedicated therapeutic counselor for themselves. And then we've paid for them to have 2 virtual sessions a month if they need it. So we're trying to meet that need for students, but we're using ESSER funds, which is, as you know, it's COVID related funds. So we only have contracts with them this year and next, and then that money dries up. So we have a couple of years to try to relieve some of the strain on our system. And then as you'll see through our next projects and through our hope with this work here, that we'll find ways to also support our students when that goes away. I would love for Davina to take over and introduce a little bit more from here.
Thank you, Vicki. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces, and glad you're able to join today. I'm excited to share with you a couple of projects that we're piloting this school year, and one of them is SB-SBIRT, and that stands for school-based screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment. And this is something that we're piloting at our Dimmitt Middle School. And SB-SBIRT is an intervention that is a movement, that's part of a movement towards universal mental health screening in schools and connecting them to the right resources in the community. And part of the model is really looking at, are there any mental health symptoms that they're experiencing, any substance abuse, or substance use, bullying, and what are the kids' strengths, any anxiety. And so this, the brief intervention part is based on motivational interviewing to try and see where the students are at, and then how can we help them reach towards where they want to be. And then we look at, as far as referral to treatment services, based on the responses of those screening questions, is it flagged to a point where they are needing outside supports more than what our schools are able to provide. And so this project has been launched by King County, and it's been launched in 2018. And so they've been working with other districts, I believe 12 other districts across the county to do this type of work. So some of you may be familiar with it in your partnerships with those other school districts. And so this is something new for our district, and we're really excited to finally get this going. As you can see to the right of the slide, it's a diagram that's looking at the SB-SBIRT model as it's an integrated part to multi-tiered systems of support framework, and it's used across Washington states and other school districts. And it provides a continuum of care to promote social, emotional, and behavioral health services. And so if you see on the bottom, there's that community engagement piece, and trying to look at what are we doing as a community to promote social, emotional wellness. And that is also part of tier 1 and what we're doing in schools. As far as tier 2 is, what are some of the tier 2 supports when students are showing some concerns, and then tier 3 is when there's more supports that are needed that are more individualized, and how can we get them access to those supports outside of the school to help address some of those needs. In November, we piloted SBIRT in one of our classes, 7th grade. And so what we've learned from that is really that it was really intentional in looking at what are the needs of our students and how can we address those needs. So it was great because Dimmitt Middle School has been providing some of the tier two supports already. And that could look like small groups. And one thing that was really great to see is that, you know, they had their, we had students who struggle typically, right, with stress and anxiety, but some more so than the others. And it was great to hear that Dimmitt was already doing some of the small groups, and it's been very enlightening to see and for students to know that there was an option being provided to address those things. And so being able to identify the students who would benefit from those small groups has been really helpful, because then they become aware of what's available. Not only that, but it's been a nice touching point for our students to be able to connect with their school counselors across all grade levels. And typically in this school, they're divided by grade level. However, because it was a collaborative effort, they were able to connect with other school counselors and be able to meet them and know that they're another person in the school that can support them if there's ever anything that they need. So that has been something that has been very interesting and nice to see, is that students were, even though they didn't request to speak with the counselor right away or to talk to the counselor, we still checked in with them, and it was a nice touch point for our kids to start building the relationships with their counselors, even if there wasn't a need. As far as next steps for what we are looking forward to with this pilot is we're going to be debriefing with King County SBIRT program to look at some of that data and look at how that drives some of the needs and gaps of services we have within our building and what within the school building, as well as what are some of the needs and gaps in services that we're seeing when it comes to referring outside to community providers. And then we're also going to be hopefully continuing that work and piloting other classes. One of the things that that they did in this specific pilot was we screened our AVID class, and so we're looking at screening our general ed class. And so with AVID, you have a lot more support systems in place, right? And so we wanted to start off in that area first. The second thing that we are also piloting is the Lifelines curriculum. And this is a grant that was provided by OSPI. And this Lifelines curriculum is a comprehensive suicide awareness and responsiveness program for teens that consists of 3 components, and that's prevention, intervention, and postvention. And so this program is available for grades 5 to 12. And this year we are starting with our high school level. And we have started at Lindbergh High School in the health classes, as well as the family and consumerism class, to offer the prevention curriculum. And this prevention curriculum helps students identify suicide warning signs, social media influence on suicide prevention, as well as how peers can help support each other when in accessing help when there is a concern. At the district level, we are really focusing on how we integrate this curriculum into our current suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention protocols. And so in the training that we provide and in integrating that, one of the things that we are emphasizing is that warm handoff. When that student is identified, how can we provide that warm handoff from whether that's the student getting access to help or the teacher getting access to help, and then to the school counselor or other trained staff members. We also train our nurses and school psychologists to provide some of these assessments when it's needed. And then how do we do that hand warm off to the parent, as well as the warm handoff to the parent, as well as community providers, and in that collaboration. So these are some of the things that we will continue to be able to work through and be able to identify what are the needs as far as next steps for the Lifeline curriculum, we are hoping to be able to provide to expand that prevention curriculum to other schools in our high school this year, and then continue to work on our postvention protocols. If there happens to be a situation where a student happens to attempt, or if there's a student death, and how we support our schools in doing that. And part of that too is that if there's something bigger than what our district is able to provide, being able to lean on our community to be able to help us access some of those supports for our students and in recovering from that situation. So, you know, this is a space where we really want to continue to share this type of information, because this is where we identify our students. This is how we figure out what our students need and what to do next. And so hopefully these learning network sessions will give us that space to do that. And so I wanted to go ahead and go on to the next slide. For those of you who have participated with us in the past, we did have community partnerships in the past and kind of sharing where our district was at. And we wanted to introduce you to this learning network, which is a new format. And part of the goals of this format is to be able to work with our partners to collaborate and come up with a collective, clear mission and vision and roadmap for our work together, and being able to set that North Star, right, in making that progress together. And so we can't do this alone. And I know that you guys as community partners can't do it alone either. It's that collaboration that's really important. And so hopefully with the time and space that we provide in these learning network sessions, we can have that active engagement and participation from you all to be able to do that. And so, and this will give us some time to be able to share, and you guys can ask us questions about where we're at with things. And so we really look forward to continuing this work with you, and we look forward to what this can look like. So I'm going to hand it over to Vicki so she can explain more about what's next.
Sure, thank you. You can go to the next slide. So there might be questions, and I imagine that there will be. And if you want to put those in the chat, feel free from what you've heard so far. And maybe during the open time, we can ask some of those questions as well. Again, let me just remind you that I'm more than happy to take phone calls anytime and answer questions that way as well. But we wanted to kind of give you an update on where we're working this year and kind of turn our attention to the future and what we're hoping to accomplish. As you all know, this has been a challenging couple of years, and the work that we had started last year, you may remember, we were able to do a assessment of where we were with our school-based mental health services called the SHAPE assessment. And then we brought that information to one of these past community partnership meetings to share with you what our schools were saying about our school mental health services. And we also were able to build, and we're still working on building out, a community dashboard so we can show what partnerships we have at which buildings. And where we might have some gaps. And one of our goals with that is that we really wanted to be sure that students had access to whatever sort of supports they needed, regardless of what school they were assigned to, or regardless of what relationship that particular school counselor was able to cultivate. So in the past, it might be that the school counselors have reached out to individual partners that they knew about, and then they built a relationship there, and that's how they knew how to refer students. And we wanted a more systematic way to do that, which is why we started with our mapping program. And if you go to the next slide, it eventually turned into sort of the draft of a vision and a mission for us. So this is just our draft right now, because our hope is that we all get on board, and we need to make changes as necessary. We just wanted something to start with. And so this is what we're starting with. And then I'll share it with you and give you some of our thinking behind it. And our hope is at the end of today that you're going to be open to having our partners at Health Commons reach out to you and get your feedback on this. We didn't want to spend this whole time doing a lot of wordsmithing. Or if we are completely off base and you want to share a different idea, we want to hear about that too. But we have so much on this agenda that we just wanted to introduce you to a draft, and then our partners will reach out to you in the future to see where you are with our draft, and we'll be able to come back together with sort of an iterative process and end up with a mission and a vision for this learning network and the work we're doing. But in general, I can just read it with you so that we're all on the same page. Our mission is to ensure every student and family can access the services they need to achieve social, emotional, and mental well-being, regardless of their social, economic, or cultural circumstances. Kind of think of it as a no wrong door approach. Whatever students need help, they could be able to reach out to wherever they need to reach out to, and we would be able to get them to the help that they need, is sort of the goal that we have with this. And then our vision is for schools to work together with communities and cross-sector agencies to co-develop student and family-centered services. So we are grateful for Health Commons coming along with us, because to us, we are only as good at this work as our partnerships. So the more that we work together to kind of get to a place of collective impact, that's our goal. We want to see how we can all be working towards the same. I know we already are, but we feel like if we verbalize it, we can get to this place of collective impact a little bit faster. So that's what we're considering, sort of vision and mission. It's very broad and maybe not as concrete, but I think that if we first start by getting on board with our vision and mission, then we can start figuring out strategies that get us closer. So I think from there, unless there's something that any of my partners here think I'm missing having said, I'm going to turn it over to Adam.
Thanks, Vicki, and thanks, Davina. And I'll just say, I think, what's great about laying out this mission and vision is, we often talk about it. It's, I guess, because of the Northwest culture here around, it's kind of like, hey, what mountain are we climbing here? Can we all, figure out where we're headed, and then figure out, what kind of team we need to build, what supplies we need to bring on this trip, and how we can make step after step and get to that destination that we all want to reach. So with that, we're going to flip over into partner introductions and reflections. And so this is really an opportunity to open it up to the group to make sure, hey, if we're going on this journey together to climb a mountain, it's probably best that we all get to know each other a little bit better. So what we'd love to do, just given the time, and there may be multiple representatives from one agency, is have, and you can go to next slide, have each organization select one representative. If you have a colleague here, you could message them and confirm who can represent the agency. And then we'd love to have you raise your hand, introduce yourself and the team, tell us who you are, your role, why your organization is here, and really what you're hoping to accomplish. So Brian, if you go to the next slide, we'll just leave it here, and we're going to give each representative or agency about a minute, maybe a little bit more than a minute, to introduce yourself. Renton School District team, Davina and Vicki, we've heard from you. Commons team, we're not going to introduce ourselves. So this is really an opportunity for the partner agencies on the call. So this is now an invitation to see if someone's willing to come off mute and introduce yourself and kind of walk through these.
Hey, Adam, this is Chuck DeSmith.
Chief.
How are you? I'm Chuck DeSmith. I'm Deputy Chief with the Renton Regional Fire Authority. And one of the reason I'm here today, because we want to partner in so many ways with the Renton School District. So far beyond just career development with a lot of our teens and being a firefighter, but mainly I oversee what's called the CARES program. And so the CARES program in the greater Kent and SeaTac and Renton area is starting out with a registered nurse and then also with a social worker. So this unit is under the umbrella of the Fire and Police Service, but we would like to support what Renton School District is doing as far as with the kids and their mental health, and maybe provide that bridge outside of school, back in their home, when they have to leave the school district grounds. What's that bridge to make sure that they're getting the care they need at home, outside of the home, just building on what they're doing in the Renton School District. And we can be mobile and we can meet the student wherever they are in their moment of crisis. So it's a great extension of all the wonderful things you're doing in the school. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief, and appreciate your willingness to go first there. Anybody else want to jump off mute?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Agner. I'm the Vice President of Social Impact at Seattle Sounders FC. Might not seem like a natural fit to this conversation, but I'll provide some context. First, Sounders FC are interested in investing in Renton, and more specifically serving Renton youth for the long term. Some background, we're moving into the old Boeing Longacres building starting in January 2024. It'll be our new home for our front office and for our training facility and players. And so we're looking forward to further investing and committing to the community, like I said, for the long term. So today, just really appreciate the opportunity to listen in and learn about Renton School District and mental wellness and health needs. And I'd love to explore how Sounders, in partnership with many of you, I'm sure, and our friends at Providence, can play a role with addressing authentic needs with students. So we always ask the question, how can soccer help? Because we know soccer is a universal language and it's a tool that can resonate deeply with youth. And so I always want to jump to how can soccer help? But first, we have to learn about the authentic needs of the community and building relationships. And so being here and listening and learning is really that first step. So excited to be here. If it's okay, Arpan, I might put you on the spot because at the moment we're kind of like a package partnership deal, working together in tandem and have each other's strengths. But I'll pass it on to Arpan real quick.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Such an honor to be a part of this group. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm Arpan Wagre. I'm a geriatric psychiatrist by training and have been a part of the Providence family of organizations for almost 15 years, Swedish and Providence and different parts of the organization. And most recently have taken on the role as chief executive for Providence's Wellbeing Trust. This is in a foundation that was created with a $100 million endowment to advance the mental, social, and spiritual health of the nation. Providence is deeply, deeply committed to the communities in which we serve, and Renton is right in our backyard in the corporate office. Like this is at the heart of where we're at, and we are really excited. We have the relationships and partnerships with Sounders as well as many of you over here. We want to really drive some meaningful change together, and so we are very committed to partnering and doing what makes the most sense for Renton School District and reimagine what excellence in youth mental health can look like. So we're grateful to be a part of this and early in the development, but here to listen and learn with all of you.
Great. Thank you, Arpan and Kimberly. Liz, I see your hand up. You want to go for it?
Sure, thanks. Hi, I'm Liz Farmer. I am the manager of school-based programs at Valley Cities. I've got a couple roles. My primary role is I manage a team of mental health therapists that go into schools where we have contracts, and they get to specialize in the work, and they spend all of their time within the schools, and they don't split time between clinics. I also, how I'm partnered with Renton right now is I help manage the MOUs. So any of our clinic-based staff that want to go out to schools to be able to see youth, I help support that connection so that all of the processes are followed and there's communication between our agency and the districts. And my goal long-term is to expand the work that we do. I hope to be able to expand it in new schools and new districts as staffing becomes more, becomes easier to figure out. But also currently and ongoing, I am working on helping our staff really become the best that they can be in doing the work in schools, because it's a specialized skill. So that will be an ongoing process around making sure that we are doing the best we can to support our youth. So thank you.
Love that. Fawn.
Hi, I'm Fawn Perkowski. I am the Program and Operations Director with Communities and Schools of Renton Tukwila. And we are a social justice organization, and we have site staff who are in the schools working one-on-one with students and families to help remove barriers in a variety of different ways. We're here because we've been here for a very long time in the district, over 27 years, I think. So just excited to learn more and see how we can continue to work together.
Thank you, Fawn. Frederica.
So weird when I hear people say my whole name, then I remember it says that in my box. Hi, so I'm Frederica, but everybody calls me Freddie. I work with CCYJ, which is a Center for Children and Youth Justice. We have a program called the LINK program. We've been partnering with Renton School District for about maybe 8-10 years or so. And what our program does is we work with numerous providers in King County. We have street outreach, mental health providers, housing resources, and we work with juvenile JPCs to help young people that are ages 12 to 24 years old that are either gang and group involved, are involved in the criminal justice system in some way, shape, or form. Also, anyone that may be carrying weapons or dealing with any type of violence in the community, associated or hang around with individuals that are gang group involved or doing any type of illegal activities, or just involved in physical altercations and have access to weapons. So we're here to strengthen our relationship and our partnership with Renton School District. Davina, thank you for sending us this invite. We are very excited to start attending these when these happen. And we look forward to just continuing the work that we're doing with you all.
Well, thank you, Freddie. Delaney.
Hi, so my name is Delaney, not Nearest. I use she, they pronouns, and I am representing King County. So I work for King County in the Department of Community and Human Services in the Behavioral Health and Recovery Division, specifically in the Youth and Family Prevention. That's what happens when you work for the government. And I have been helping along with my supervisor, Margaret Sokup, with the SB-SBIRT or school-based SBIRT at Dimmitt Middle School. So my role is to help facilitate that or support in any way, but I also help all the other districts. So we're currently in 13 districts. Renton and Enumclaw are the newest ones to join us. And then we also have our private school doing this. So I also really enjoy getting to facilitate, say like one district is doing a sleep campaign, for example, and then I can say, hey, give me that info, and then I can send it to all the districts. So I really enjoy that. And then I'm also one of the motivational interviewing trainers at the county as well. I'm here to support and hopefully find connections if there are any. And then I'm just hoping to continue helping Renton and making this all grow. So super excited.
Very exciting to hear about that. Thanks, Delaney. Is it Eric or Erich?
Hi, Adam and everyone. Yeah, it's Erich Flacker. I am the clinical director at Consejo Counseling. We mostly serve Spanish-speaking population, but we really we're expanding all over Washington, helping different communities access mental health needs. We do case management, sexual assault, domestic violence, SUD, a little bit of everything. And this is my first time at one of these meetings with the Renton School District, in partnership with all of the Common Health Commons Project, and love what you are all doing. I've been in similar projects in the past, so I'm really excited to just strengthen the relationship between Consejo and the Renton School District. We're fairly new to the Renton area. We've only been here for about a year. We had our headquarters in Seattle previously, but now with this being our home, we want to make sure that all our partners know that we're available, that we're here, strengthening these relationships, which are so important to our adults and our kiddos at schools. So I'm just really here to learn. I'm fairly new in this role, so I just want to kind of get an idea of how we can better serve our community and the youth in the schools that we're providing in-school services. We're also doing Zoom sessions with them or in office. So any way that Consejo can help, please reach out. We're willing to continue supporting the team here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Let's see, are there anybody else on the call or any organizations that we haven't heard from yet?
I could go.
Oh, great. Yeah, go ahead, Lorraine.
Yeah, so my name is Lorraine Lynch. I'm the Chief Program Officer at King County Sexual Assault Resource Center, and we are located here in Renton. We are a nonprofit agency. Our name sometimes makes people think we're part of the King County, but we serve all of King County. We have a long history here with Renton and partnering with the Renton School District. We have a 24-hour resource line, which is available for not just survivors, but family members and professionals who have questions about how to best support survivors. Feel free to call our 24-hour resource line. We provide general advocacy, medical advocacy, legal advocacy, therapy, and all of our services are available in Spanish through our Donde Voz program. We're excited this year. We are doing prevention programming in 4 of the schools in Renton, 2 of the middle schools, 2 of the high schools. So it's sexual violence prevention programming, which can include training for staff on how to respond to disclosures, how to support a survivor, how to get them connected to services. It can include sessions, so multi-sessions for students. And also groups. If a school or students are interested in having a group focused on sexual violence prevention, we can help facilitate that. And we also have therapists who are able to go into the schools as well. This year, if a student prefers to receive the services on campus, some students do prefer to come to our office building for confidentiality, or we can do telehealth as well. So we're just really excited for this year and the possibilities, and have appreciated the support from the Renton School District in getting things off the ground and getting rolling and making sure that counselors are aware we are here. And especially I will add, we anticipated that with students returning to the school building following the pandemic, that there may be an increase in disclosures because of the isolation of being at home, possibly with offenders. And we have experienced an increase in calls from counselors with regards to kids are starting to disclose about sexual abuse that may have happened. So I just wanted you all to know that we are here and available as a resource for you all as well.
Thank you, Lorraine. Anyone else that we haven't heard from yet? All right. Well, I'm gonna great to hear all these introductions. Pretty humbling to see the incredible group, Vicky and Davina, that you have assembled here to support students and families. I think going back to Vicky's earlier comment, that this collective impact approach, how do we get to kind of the 1 + 1 = 10 equation here, which I think is certainly possible, given the incredible dedication and professionals and agencies that we have in the room. So really great to see. We'll switch into one kind of open discussion and Q&A session. We'll spend about 5 minutes. And one more slide forward. So we've got a couple discussion topic questions. I think the first one is really, as we look around the room and say, who are the key stakeholders that are not represented here today, that we should reach out to join these learning network sessions. Would love to either have you come off mute and give a few recommendations, or if you just want to drop them in the chat. I think that will help Vicky and Davina see who they should be reaching out to. The second question, which you can also come off mute or drop in the chat, the vision that Vicky and Davina have laid out here is aspirational. I think a lot of people want to get to this North Star. It's going to take quite a bit of partnership building, but also investment. And so, are there additional funding options that Vicky and Davina should be exploring to help fund this work? So feel free to come off chat or write answers to those questions. If other questions come up that people want to pop off the chat for, we've got a few minutes here. So I'll just open it up to the group. Some good recommendations I see from Chief to Smith about Renton Police joining Valley Medical Center. Yeah, and actually some colleagues from Valley Medical Center were invited to this session and couldn't attend for this one, but plan on being here in the future. A local YMCA, I think we had a couple registrants from the local Y. I'm not sure if they were able to attend or if they're on the call, but that's a great recommendation as well. Yeah, Parks Department, often forgotten. Parks Department plays a very important role in our mental well-being. King County Library, integrating student voice into this. Great comment from Delaney. Yeah, I think it was great to see in Vicky's mission and vision statement. It's not just about the partners working with cross-sector agencies, but how do we bring that community voice into the conversation? Really important. City of Renton. Yeah, that's a great recommendation as well. I'm not sure if we have any representatives from the municipality here today. Oh, and Reach. Yep. So that's a service, street-based counseling service that provides services to youth and families struggling with insecure housing or homelessness. And yeah, religious organizations. Yeah, great recommendations. Any other, just going back to the funding question, we tend to think about this work as assembling different Lego blocks. How do you bring the right partnerships together and the right funding streams? Are there other, funding opportunities that Vicky and Davina should be exploring out there that you all are aware of that might fund this work? We'll leave that one hanging there. And just because of time, Brian, why don't you move to the next slide? Yeah, good recommendation, Tricia. Thank you for that. Having children's behavioral health administrators from the MCOs, certainly very important stakeholders when we think about youth and families that need access to services. All right, one more slide forward. So in closing, we've got a couple of asks for the group. Davina, I'm going to hand it over to you to start with this first ask about the new partnership process that you've rolled out at Renton School District.
Thank you, Adam. So our first ask basically is to, if you haven't already, if your organization or agency hasn't already if we don't have a formal partnership with your organization, to please feel free to reach out to me. One of the things that we started and we talked about in our last community partnership meeting was the change of our MOU process. And we now call it Statement of Qualifications application. And what this is basically, in hearing from some of the providers that we have spoken with, when I've connected with them about an MOU, it's a lot of the times it's been hard because every school year we would have to start scrambling around to develop those MOUs when providers were wanting to see students right away. And one of the things we decided to do is to go with the Statement of Qualification process that grants up to 5 years for you to be able to put that in place. So that way we don't have to do that year after year. That way we have those partnerships in place right when the school year starts and services can commence for our students there. And so it's one of our ways to trying to eliminate the access to the services and supports our students are getting. And then one of the other things that is part of the application is really getting a better understanding of each organization's referral process and also getting that referral form, because this helps us communicate to our school counselors or others in the community about or how to access that support and services. So if you see on the right, these are those that the agencies and organizations that we currently have formal partnership with the SOQs. And so, you know, typically if there's any questions about this process, feel free to reach out. If your organization is not on the list, I'm happy to help you and walk you through this process. And it's kind of one of those things, right? When we talk about early intervention or, you know, front loading services, it's a lot at first, but once we get that done, it's not as much. And so we ask you to bear with us in this new process, and feel free to reach out if you have anything. And let's see, the next ask, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Davina. And if, like Davina said, you can reach out to Davina by email, or if you just want to drop, if you do want to get this partnership process in place, just put a little #1 in the chat, your name, org, and email, and then Davina will follow up with you. Next slide, Brian. So the second ask, which Vicky brought up before, is you know, Vicky and Davina put out this draft mission and vision statement, and really would like feedback from the group, because it's one thing to have a mission and vision as a single organization, but to have a shared mission and vision and roadmap and to make progress towards that is quite another thing. And so the second ask here is if you're willing to have Chelsea and myself reach out to you and schedule a little time to get feedback on that mission and vision. Would love you to reach out. If you can put a #2, your name, org, and email, we'll follow up with you. Chelsea, you can also drop our email partner at Health Commons Project in the chat if you all want to just reach out at another time. Let me see what Arpan's saying here. I have an opportunity to have a corner. Yeah, great question about another potential funding opportunity. I think is the ARPA funds. You know, some communities may have other infrastructure dollars that have been rolled out from the federal government that could be used towards this work. So I think that's right on ARPA, something we should definitely explore. Maybe with if we can get some participation from City of Renton, that might be a great avenue to look at that. Thanks, Chief. Brian, you want to move to next slide? Yeah, so that kind of wraps up our session here. We really appreciate everybody's willingness to spend an hour with us. I saw a couple of folks had to drop off, such as the nature of this work. When the bell rings, we all go to serve our community members. Really appreciate everybody's attendance. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.